Since 2001, I've been using four-wheel drive vehicles to travel to the remote parts of North America. Places like the Red Rock country of the American Southwest, the Continental Divide, the tundra of Alaska, the deserts of northern Mexico, the boreal forests of western Canada, and the rocky taiga of Labrador. After making countless cross-country drives in slow, noisy, but very capable vehicles, I decided it was time to try something new. A 2022 Land Rover Defender. I chose this vehicle in the hope that it would shorten distances by providing a more comfortable and quiet ride on-road. I also hope that it will be every bit as capable off-road as the previous version Defender. Knowing that the first model year of any new vehicle can have its share of problems, I waited a year after the new Defender's release, and in March of 2021, I placed an order with Land Rover Fairfield for a 2022 model year Defender. I ordered air suspension and the off-road pack, which includes a rear locking differential. When I imagine a Land Rover Defender, this is what comes to mind. So when it came to color, white with white steel wheels just felt appropriate. The availability of white steel wheels was a pleasant surprise, and certainly gives the Defender a purposeful look. The vehicle arrived on schedule in late May, and I already had planned a trip out west to test it out. The planned route weaves through Utah and northern Arizona, following as many trails and dirt roads as possible. To do this kind of trip, a fridge is a nice convenience, so I added a split charge and a second battery to power it. I also added 1-inch lift rods from Lucky 8. Lift rods trick the sensors into increasing the vehicle's ride height in all situations, whether the suspension is raised or lowered, essentially providing the least expensive 1-inch lift ever. I replaced the Goodyear Wrangler tires with more off-road appropriate Goodyear Duratracs of the same size. With less than 200 miles on the odometer, we set out on the trip. Like the old Defender, the new Defender still has enough room to comfortably sleep in the back, which makes getting out west easier. Drive 15 hours, pull over, sleep, and drive again. After 2 relaxing days driving across country, we arrive in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Santa Fe has become our jumping-off point for many Western adventures, and never disappoints in food and entertainment. We leave Santa Fe and drive into Arizona, heading for Utah. We arrive just outside of Canyonlands National Park and set up camp. As the sky fades from blue to orange, I think about the ambitious route we are taking in an unproven vehicle. I hope for the best and put my faith in the vehicle, like I have done countless times before, for better or worse. We've always made it out of sticky situations in the past, but this time, with temperatures as high as 118 degrees, a bad situation can quickly turn life-threatening. We are prepared as much as anyone can be. The one thing we know for sure is that the next week will certainly be exciting. Our trek across Utah begins on Elephant Hill Trail. I air down my tires, raise the Land Rover's air suspension, engage low range, select rock crawl mode, and ease out onto the dirt. The day before, we secured a permit to drive the trail. Only 25 permits are available per day, and they can only be purchased 24 hours in advance. Having no background in off-roading modern Land Rovers, I find the experience effortless and enjoyable. The suspension is a little stiff in raised mode, but often has enough articulation to keep all 4 tires on the ground. When a tire does come off the ground, traction control quickly intervenes, and forward progress is maintained.
So we've come halfway up the Elephant Hill Trail and we're in this canyon. There's an amazing echo here. So we're gonna keep going up to the Devil's Pocket, I think, which is a really tight area. And we have one more hill to go up here. So we'll see how we do. But so far the Defender's been doing really well. It's maintained really good traction on the uphill sections, and the air suspension is really nice to have, so we can gain extra ground clearance to get up some of these ledges. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so we just went through Devil's Pocket in the new Defender, and it did really well. I felt like it was gonna be a little on the wide side to fit through, but I made it through with a few inches to spare, and the vehicle does feel really wide, especially in the front, but I don't think it's too much wider than like a Jeep Wrangler. It's certainly a lot wider than an old Defender, but it made it through no problem. It's been doing really good on the ledges and stuff. It's maintained excellent traction on any rocky surface, so there's really nothing to report back yet. Everything's going good. So we've gone down this Elephant Hill Road quite a bit, and came to a really amazing slot canyon, and it doesn't look like I can get in it. It's probably like 50 feet deep, straight down. I would love to get down in this and explore it, but it's kind of plugged in places, so you can see straight down there. There's a big uprooted tree at the beginning I can't really get through, and I'm definitely not getting straight down there. So we'll just keep going. They could go on for miles. It would be incredible to just pick one and explore it. So we're coming down this beautiful valley here, and I kept saying, look for petroglyphs. This seems like a good spot. And Sophie spotted some petroglyphs along the cliff edge. Let me see, where did she see this? Oh my God, yeah, look at this. in red. Wow. Wow, look at this. This is some sort of like humanoid figure with ears, and then maybe a human with a feather. Oh my God, there's more up there. And the Land Rover's doing great, so we're onto an easy section of the trail, and then we're gonna get up to some switchbacks that may be a little tricky, but so far so good.
You're good. There's nothing on the other side.
The day is going well. But when I get up to take a photo, I notice a puncture in my sidewall, leaking air.
All right, so we just got a puncture.
I insert several tire plugs to seal the wound and reinflate the tire. This is a bad situation. Sidewall gashes are notoriously hard to fix, but this repair should be fine to get us out of the trail. Then, not even 15 minutes later, I unexpectedly puncture another sidewall. This one is irreparable.
All right, so we got a second flat, and we changed that up, and now we have no spare tire.
So now we have a tire with plugs in the sidewall and no spare tire. If we get another irreparable flat, or can't get the plugs to hold in the sidewall, we will be stranded out here in 117-degree heat. Knowing that we are nearly at the end of Elephant Hill Trail, we decide to go forward instead of going back. We will press on to Beef Basin Trail rather than going all the way back through the rock-strewn Elephant Hill Trail. Beef Basin is a very good road, and we can then just limp the Defender back to civilization. Unfortunately, there is one more rocky hill between us and Beef Basin Road. Bobby's Hole. At first glance, it looks impossibly steep and rocky. I walk the hill and begin to put together a strategy for every 20 feet of the trail. I plan where to stay left or right, which rocks the Defender will get traction on and which to avoid, where to stack rocks and where to place the max tracks, and what obstacles the Land Rover has the ground clearance to simply drive over. This is one situation where I'm glad the new Defender still has the high-up seating position, just like the original. You don't sit in a Defender, you sit on it, and therefore have great visibility.
We just made it up a really, really difficult ledge.
We finally make it to the top.
That last hill was extremely difficult, and we had to stack rocks, and I mean, this was like Rubicon Trail style rock, and the truck made it up fine, but it was just very difficult. I'm just making sure there's no small pinhole leaks in the tires, but it looks good. So we're gonna keep going, and I think the trail's gonna get a little bit easier as we go into Beef Basin Road here.
Now, on the easiest road yet, we can relax a bit and take in the sights.
So the sun is just going down behind me there, and we got our campsite all set up, and I took a little nap after a very, very hard day that was a little bit outside of my comfort zone as far as getting the two flats. But I came up here, and I read something that in this area there's quite a few ruins, and people camp out in this area and just look for ruins that date back hundreds and hundreds of years. Native American ruins. And I came up on top of this hill, and I couldn't believe it, but I found a huge ruin. At first I thought it was an old farmhouse, so you could see it there, because it doesn't really look that old. It's still, the walls are still in really good shape. And I came around the side here, I'm like, it looks like it could be maybe a rancher's farmhouse or something like that. But I came around to the side here, and look at that doorway, that keyhole-shaped doorway. That's Native American. I've been to Chaco Canyon, I've seen those doorways. So they kind of have a narrower bottom and a wider top, and they kind of, I believe they go through the doorways because they're so low by using their hands to kind of help pull themselves through. You always see that keyhole-shaped doorway on Native American ruins. Here's some pottery shards. These are, look at the decoration on this. I can only imagine what the original pot actually looked like, how beautiful it must have been with these decorated, with these lines and these kind of incised decorations. Look at the pattern on that. And then you have these little church scrapers. Very sharp edges still. We're still a good day's drive away from the road up here on Beef Basin. And we'll have to make our way up into Moab and find a couple replacement tires. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to go back out into the backcountry without a working spare. So I'm going to enjoy this view here, and then we'll head back down to camp. And that's it for this very exciting and interesting day.
make it out, but instead of driving to the next leg of our dirt road journey, we get back on the highway and head 180 miles to Grand Junction, Colorado, where 2 new Duratrack tires await us.
All right, so we just made it to the tire repair place, and we got 2 new Duratracks going onto the Land Rover, and it was amazing that we made it this far, all the way from Elephant Hill Trail to Grand Junction with tire plugs in the sidewall. Luckily, they would hold for like between 5 and 40 miles, and Sophie would hear the tire plugs blow out of the sidewall, and I would immediately pull over, plug it, use the compressor to fill it back up, and we'd continue on our way 45 miles an hour or so with hazards on, going up Highway 70. Luckily, I was able to buy every tire plug in the O'Reillys in Moab, and that barely got us here. We probably went through at least 30 tire plugs, and we drove 45 miles an hour up 70 all the way from Blanding, Utah, all the way up to Grand Junction, because this was the only place I could get the Duratrack tires next day. But other than that, the Land Rover's doing great. The only issue that we've had was that the National Luna split charge for the fridge isn't really playing well with the newer alternators that these have, because they only charge like on overrun when you're coasting, and so it won't work with the split charge. So we have to press the force connect button like every 20 minutes or so to keep the fridge battery charged. But no other real problems. With the one thing that's is very terrifying, the washer fluid in this is like straight glycol, because it smells like antifreeze, and I literally every time I spray it, I have like a mini panic attack, because it smells like leaking coolant. But other than that, there's been no problems with the vehicle, and we're on to the Grand Staircase Escalante, and then down to Lake Powell, and then hopefully we'll reach the north rim of the Grand Canyon.
We again point the Land Rover west. To make up for lost time, we skip one leg of our journey and beeline it right for Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. Grand Staircase Escalante is a place with infinite possibilities for exploration. I heard there was a Native American ruin near where we are camping. An arch with a granary under it. We spot a few of these granaries on our trek. They were used by the Anasazi to store surplus corn for lean times. Utah is known for its arches, but never have I heard of a granary built under an arch. My trips are as much about finding little-known places as they are about off-road driving, and I am intent on finding this one.
All right, so we're in the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, and we're driving Smoky Mountain Road. And what I hope to find is a Native American ruin called the Collet Top Granary. There's no information anywhere online about where this ruin is, and with good reason. Which, by the way, this is one of the last places in the lower 48 states to ever be explored. So it's a very, very remote area. Okay, so here's the update on my hunt for Collet Top Granary. So we were driving down Hole in the Rock Road, just kind of blindly looking for it, because there seemed to be a lot of interesting rock formations it looked like the right area, but that's not the right way to go about anything. First of all, the coordinates for the ruin are removed from the internet by the BLM, and you can't find anything on it. I actually picked up like 1 bar of internet up here, and I found someone that said, if you email me, I will send you the coordinates of Collet Top Arch, as long as you promise not to vandalize it, and obvious things like that. And within like 10 minutes, he got back to me with the directions to it. So we're camped out like less than 2 miles away from the arch. I couldn't believe it. We're camped out on the ridge over there, so we jumped in the Defender and we headed on down here, but we're still a little ways away. The trail is getting kind of rocky and it's getting dark, so I think we're gonna have to come back in the morning, but we don't want to be out here hiking this type of terrain at night, so we're gonna come back in the morning and find the arch and granary. It's gonna be really exciting. Okay, so we followed the trail up into the hill here, and now we're using the Garmin Overlander to navigate. So this is actually a really good tool because it works like a road GPS in your car, and then it also has topographic maps on it, and it's like a really nice large screen GPS for hiking. So we're following these coordinates. Let's go this way. Oh, is that an arch? Oh my God, I think it is. Is this it? Oh my God, this is it, Sophie. Wow. Look at that. Look at that little doorway. All right, let's check it out. And they probably had the granary here because they used the arch as a point where they could find it again. Just imagine, like, you've been out here for days and days, like starving, and you're looking for this granary, and you spot the arch, and you know that you're close. And then you go around the back and open the little door, and it's full of corn and food. So look at this, there's a weird black substance on the trail here, and I looked over and there's coal. So this Smoky Mountain Road has these coal seams, and some of them have been on fire for, I think, centuries. So look at that coal seam. It's probably too small to economically mine, but it's interesting.
We continue south on Smoky Mountain Road and begin to make our way to our next destination, Lake Powell. From this vantage point, we overlook a completely surreal landscape. We are now in the Arizona Strip, the swath of land between Utah and the north rim of the Grand Canyon.
All right, so we're down here in Arizona now, and we drove quite a distance down this washboard road and then onto this sandy road that got to test the sand mode of the Land Rover, which did great. And you could see the center differential and rear differential locking and kind of how it adapts when you put it in the sand mode to the really loose sand, which it did not get stuck in. It felt like it was bogging a little bit in a few places, but it always pulled through. And now we're in this white pocket, which is a completely surreal alien landscape that just is full of these white heat-cracked rock formations. It looks like something that's maybe some really strange alien world would have similar formations to this. And I'm just hiking across this vast landscape of white rock and just taking taking in all the strange formations that you can find here. There's a lot of red stripes mixed in with the white, which gives it a really kind of three-dimensional look from a distance. And all the folds, and geologically what happened here was really complex. So I'm just walking across this landscape and taking it in, and today we'll be heading towards the north rim of the Grand Canyon.
We continue south and climb an elevation into cooler and greener terrain. Although the temps are in the high 90s, it feels refreshingly cool compared to the lower elevations.
Okay, so after about an hour and a half or so coming up this trail, we finally reached Point Sublime, which is a overlook of the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And so we got the Land Rover right on the edge here, but not too close. And we're gonna go check out this view. I think it's gonna be spectacular, so let's see what we got.
After a breathtaking view of the Grand Canyon, we again head west.
Yeah, the Arizona Strip does have a weird feeling to it that you didn't really sense in Utah or any other parts of the Southwest. It's the lighting is different. It got dark at like 8:45, and the sun came up at like 4. So there's something different about this particular spot. And even driving through here, like we went through a town that had no power, so we weren't able to get gas, but luckily we have the extra 5 gallons on the roof, so we were okay. And just the terrain is much more open. And just getting out here, we drove just a straight dirt road that we were able to do like 55 miles an hour on, this just straight washboard dirt road. May have issue with driver's side ball joint and axle. Oh, look at the wear on his tire. He's had that problem for a while. Wow, look at the ball joint. Oh my God, that thing just let right go.
The Arizona Strip is crisscrossed with scenic dirt roads, and many of them end with spectacular overlooks, each unique in its own way. Our destination is Las Vegas, Nevada, but being a bit ahead of schedule, I managed to squeeze in one more overlook.
This is the end of our trip, essentially. We're here today. We're going to drive to Vegas and stay a couple nights there just to recoup and then head back to Connecticut. So all in all, it was an amazing trip.
Las Vegas provides an extreme contrast to the solitude and wide-open places of the last week, the only constant being the extreme heat. As we meander the streets of this iconic city, I can't help but reflect on the trip and think about the next destination in the Defender.